So now we will wait and see if it goes live.
I'm gonna let Reguline know that I'll be tracking stuff for the cast, so maybe you can use a little extra time to get the RP set up. Up, it just started.
Oh, it just started. Thanks,
Yep.
YouTube. Thanks. As I'm unloading stuff. Oh my god. Kill me. Alright, just put that away.
Yep.
Well, Chatfish. It appears YouTube just thinks I'm ready. Little shit. Alright, so. Welcome, little Chatfish, to another Bunchcast. Today we're going to be talking about MechWarrior 5 clans, and there's a lot to talk about. And I just got done helping my parents move because, you know, we've got a big foreclosure thing we're dealing with over there, so a lot of stuff. I'll be back over there helping them later. A little out of breath because I just got back home and done carrying stuff. Found a lot of really cool stuff. We'll look at that later. Whew, just take a deep breath. All right, so we're starting a little earlier. Wasn't quite ready, but yeah, we're going to be talking about MechWarrior 5 clans, and we're going to be talking about Piranha Games Interactive. Now, Piranha Games Interactive is the current company, developer, and publisher, so technically they're indie, indie-ish. They do have outside funding, though, as far as I'm aware. Now, I don't know how that works with the Embracer Group, because I knew they had some ties to that a while back, but we're not going to really be going into that. We're mostly going to be talking about the product itself, and that's MechWarrior 5 Clans. MechWarrior 5 Clans is a game that released to not particularly favorable reviews. Now, bearing in mind that really quickly we're going to touch on the fact that MechWarrior is a fandom that is heavily starved for content. So people who consume this game are desperate, and they're also really, really old. From a series and a franchise called BattleTech that dates back to the 80s. You know, it's pretty old. It's like 50 plus years old now. Like, it's getting up there. It's ancient, right? It's half a century old pretty much, or getting there. No, is it 35 years old? Fuck, I don't remember. My brain, time, years fly, but it's old, right? So the big thing to take away from MechWarrior 5 Clans is that it's not a very good game. And we're going to talk about every reason as to why it isn't a good game and why we deserved better than what we got. So, the first thing I want to talk about, and the most important thing, is performance and stability, right? The performance and stability of MechWarrior 5 Clans is not very good. It's not very functional in co-op. It has a lot of bugs. There are ways to handle bugs. Quick PSAs is if you have any sort of bugs when entering repair depots and stuff with your friends, tell them to access the map by pressing B and then press B again to close it. That should get your HUD to reappear. So elements of your HUD disappear. The game launched to a sloppy release. You're going to want to play this in co-op if you do get it, because the AI NPCs are a nightmare to play with. It is just not fun. They're not fun to play with at all. And it's just, oh, it's rough. It's rough. But ignoring all that, the performance and stability problems, the game has problems even for my high-end rig. It was not clearly ready, especially towards some of the later levels. The game starts to lag and chunk and have all sorts of problems. That's just like performance wise, like hiccups, like it'll stutter randomly. It's not game breaking for high end rigs, but it certainly isn't good in terms of stability or performance. It's gonna need some more patchwork, so I wouldn't even recommend getting it out the bag just yet. It needs more work. It should have gotten at least another half a year in the oven. But moving on past the performance and stability problems of MechWarrior 5 Clans, we're going to talk about the big problems. And these are the really big problems. First, we're going to talk about gameplay, because as it is a video game, its most important aspect is its gameplay. Not its lore, not its story, not its music. Those are all tertiary and secondary. It's primarily a video game first and foremost. So we're going to talk about the video game as a whole. Now, compared to MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries, this is a step up in terms of like overall performance and or how weapons feel and weightiness feels. It feels a little bit better, but I'm talking about unmodded mercenaries, by the way. So it's an improvement. There are more enemies and more vehicles to fight, which is a nice thing, but there's not a whole lot. The infantry stuff is completely abandoned, and any sort of elementals or power armored units or, you know, lighter infantry units or infantry or people in these cities don't exist. And they don't exist purely because this game was made for consoles first. PC is a second afterthought. It was not meant for PC. So it is not a true traditional MechWarrior game. And this is bad for a couple of reasons, because even in MechWarrior 2, there were elementals, and in MechWarrior, 3, they tried to do infantry. They gave up on it in 4 and went to 2D sprites, which is still better than nothing, but they still had elementals in 4, especially if you download any of those mods and whatnot. Like, they managed to get those working, so that's functional. Combined arms and all that. Here, there is nothing. It is a giant, empty world. Well, not giant. It's a giant, empty corridor, and we'll talk about that in a second, where you just go from point A to point B, and the buildings are sort of abandoned. Now, the set pieces of the levels are set pieces. They are handcrafted, which is an improvement to the very bad procedural level generation of MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries, which generates levels in squares, if I remember right, and then connects them together, which creates all sorts of like, here's a random city that's not connected to this random base, that's not connected to this random crater of this random crash ship that's next to them. And it's just like set piece levels would have been a better choice for Mercenaries. Massive set piece maps. They could have done the enlisted route and just, mixed it up and shuffled it a little bit, but they didn't do it. So, all in all, the levels, the missions, they're not particularly good. The missions boil down to basically you spawn on a world, right? And you walk from point A to point B, killing everything that goes in your path. And that is really hampered by the fact that the enemies will just move towards you like they're complete brainless. Not only are NPC companions bad, but enemy vehicles will not take cover. They will not peek over a hill, fire, and then withdraw like tank warfare or anything like that. Helicopters will not duck behind buildings. They will actually fly into skyscrapers and kill themselves. I've seen that happen. Don't. It's just embarrassing. And aircraft will just sort of head into you in straight lines, including enemy mechs and tanks. They all seem to have the same behavioral patterns, where they don't really have unique behaviors from what I can tell, and after 18 hours of playing it and beating the entire game, enemies just funnel towards you down small corridors. And it's really just about efficiently dispatching the light elements and then immediately switching to the heavy, tankier elements to prevent the amount of damage output, because every level is the exact same, more or less. So how the game sort of boils down to is engage the smaller adds as quickly as possible, kill them as fast as you can, then switch to targeting larger, heavier targets, because they're the slower to kill, and thus you've reduced the enemy's ability to deal out damage. This is bad. Bad for one major reason. It's the same mission over and over and over and over again, from beginning to finish, with only a couple of missions that have any sort of variety or attempts. Like there's one mission where there's like a little attempt at stealth, and it's trivial. It's actually just trivial. It's like you just dodge a patrol, and then you go up to this thing and scan it, and then you move on to the next thing, and you scan it. They try some things with boss battles here, and that is interesting, except they treat the bosses a bit dumb. The first boss you introduce is like a Sokol, and the Sokol is interesting because it's a very tanky sort of gunship, and you gotta take out its turbines. It's perhaps a bit too tanky, which is, ironic because mechs are like tissue paper by comparison. So that's just really refreshing. Then you also fight a Gazelle, which is a tank, company transport vehicle, and you also fight some Union class dropships that I feel are a little bit on the small side. I thought Union class dropships are a bit bigger, but correct me if I'm wrong, Chatfish. Maybe it's just the sense of scale is feeling weird, because I remember Union classes are big. And you fight some of these boss vehicles, and this was something that was desperately needed in Mercenaries, but they don't really do a whole lot with it. Like vehicles, for example, how tacky it is. They added the Riverjacks. The Riverjacks are these little light Humvee, basically, vehicles, right? They've got little guns mounted on top, and it's nice to have something lighter than a tank and a hovercraft. So you've got support vehicles, It'd be nice to see some troop transports and other things, so you get some, combined arms feel. But the problem with these Riverjacks is that, what was fascinating about it is Chumba and I were playing this with Robin and Reggie, and these fucking things, at first I'm like, oh, the hovercraft hover on water, that's pretty cool. And then the Riverjack just drives on water as if it's piloted by Jesus. So vehicles just drive on top of water, and they just ignore the water mechanic entirely. So like even rivers, they'll just like go under the water, or not go under the water, go on top of the water and beeline it to you, which just really kills any sort of immersion. And the fact that the enemy's AI behavior really makes every set piece fall apart. I mean, I'm not kidding, chat. There will be these massive cliff faces that you can't go on because there's these the maps, if you look at it, are just corridors. Some of them are wider, some of them are more narrow, but enemies will come off the top of cliffs and jump down on you like they're just barreling towards you without really taking cover, without really trying to take advantage of the cliff face to fire down on you. There's a couple of cases where that sort of looks like it's happening, but it's more of, I chalk it up to a glitch, mostly because they're stuck and they're trying to get down to you, but you kill them too fast. So yeah, when it comes down to it, it's just not very good. The gameplay is just too much beelining it for you. It's basically turned into, honestly, Call of Duty has a better gunplay and gameplay than this game does. And that's fucking tragic to say. Enemies in Call of Duty, and even the modern Call of Duties, will actually take cover and shoot at you. And in MechWarrior 5 clans, they won't. They'll just walk towards you like a bunch of zombies. And it's sad. Like an entire tank column. Like, we had this one battle chat where there's this armored column like going across this bridge or surrounding this. There's a big mountain and there's like a river and there's like a bridge, right? And they're going towards the bridge to drive across because they're obviously scripted to do that, right? And so as the first tank rounds the corner, we fire and we blow up the first tank, right? And what would have been really cool is now that unit should perceive that we're in combat, so it should disperse and then try to, to set up in firing positions because the lead vehicle got taken out. No, what does the AI do? The next tank drives on the same path, pushing the carcass of the dead one out, and then it gets blown up. Followed by the next five or six of them, I can't remember how many there were, repeating the exact same thing that the first tank had done. Helicopters are terrible. Helicopters will A, fly into mountains, fly into skyscrapers, or they'll just fly towards you and shoot at you. The most advanced enemy AI in this game is unironically I think they're called the Shilohs. I don't remember what 100% what the name is. Basically, they're the fighter bomber, close air support fighter bomber things. Those things are scripted, and because they have scripts, they actually behave a little bit more interesting. So what they do is they strafe you with an attack run, and then they go off map, and then they come back, and then they strafe you again. And that's all they do. However, because they slow down for their attack run, it gives you an ability to attack them, and then they speed off to get away, right? What's interesting about this is that that's the most interesting enemy AI that I've ever seen in this game. Besides the one boss where we fight the Gazelle, and the Gazelle just flies in a circle at comically low speeds, tilting itself just right so you can shoot all its, hard points. And it's just like, oh my gosh. Their faith is
Not
not liking it pretty much. Go ahead.
not to mention the those bombers, those scripts, they would break a lot, and they would just float in the air and not move.
Yeah.
So even those that are better than just to run at you, it would break more often than not.
Yeah. That's one of the big problems. So when it comes to the AI and the AI behavior and the enemies lineup, the enemy lineup here is better than it is in Mercenaries. However, without actually tackling the infantry problem, without tackling the power armor problem, and by relegating them to cut scenes only for the elementals, not even the infantry, and dialogue lines, it's like, oh, an elemental squad will be dispatched to help clean up this thing, or oh, there's elemental infantry trying to contain these crowds. You look at the city is empty. There's not a single soul in the city streets. Yet they keep talking like there's like, oh, we're firing on, why do you fire on the civilians? It's like, we can't contain the civilians, you're rioting, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you look at the city and it's just empty buildings, empty city streets. There are no people. And honestly, sacrifice graphic fidelity to have people. Don't give me this excuse that we can't have infantry, because that's bullshit. Okay? That is purely bullshit. Infantry play a pivotal role. Jump jet infantry, elemental power armor infantry, BA armor infantry, fucking anti-mech squads, fucking literally just regular infantry with anti-mech weaponry, that setting up firing positions, setting up in buildings and stuff. Like, the buildings and the destructibility of the cities aren't improved here either, as a side note real quickly. The destructibility is on par with MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries, meaning that they didn't really expand it. No, you can't topple skyscrapers. Yeah, you can smear certain things and you can walk through buildings with, like, really no problem. And it's like, okay, well, now because you can walk through buildings, like, buildings kind of lose all merit and meaning. And the only thing that has any merit and meaning are the skyscrapers, and they look really tacky when they're destroyed. Like, I'm not kidding. They look like low assets. Like, oh my god. So the upgrades to Unreal Engine 5 over on UE4 really they didn't. The only thing that really saw any sort of benefit here is some set pieces look nice at a distance. Like when we're attacking Luthien, the capital of the Draconis Combine, that looked kind of cool. Like unironically, the cities and the battle set pieces for the siege of Luthien looked really cool. However, the map and the gameplay was just corridor map design, which is go from point A to point B. And this is exacerbated yet further by the fact that they have sections of corridors where you simply have long tunnels, and these tunnels are what I call talking tunnels. They exist for the characters to monologue and talk to each other and stuff. And that's all it is. And speaking of the characters, it's not that it's just like, okay, the characters and writing, you would think it's improved here, but I would argue that it's a side grade. It's just as bad in a different way. And here's why. A lot of the characters exist to exposition dump, and a lot of characters are swapped or killed off or things happen to them. I'm not going to spoil, but a lot of characters disappear for some whatever reason, right? And they didn't have any build up to begin with or any attachment or personality, unlike MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries, where literally Spectre and his fucking advisor have like this like back and forth, and then the other characters have a little bit of personality. MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries and MechWarrior 4 Vengeance, the characters and personality in those characters, while corny, is a lot more soulful than it is in MechWarrior 5 Clans. And the big problem with MechWarrior 5 Clans is that the game starts off with you being a new clan member, or basically a new clan warrior for Smoke Jaguar. And that sounds pretty cool, except for the fact that you're not really Smoke Jaguar. You are moralizing all the time. Your characters moralize like crazy, like to an almost absurd degree. And I'm not talking about like, oh, clan morality and stuff like that. I mean, like, they're not behaving like Smoke Jaguar. Smoke Jaguar is known as the more aggressive, violent. They are the Crusader clan, right? To paint a picture for those that don't know. They are here to crusade, to reclaim what was lost, to rebuild the Star League from the ashes under a new clan basic sort of order, right? To wipe away the fascist regimes of the House Lords and their despotic ways and all that stuff, because they're so barbaric, you know? And we don't really behave like that. You have a couple characters that do, like Perez. Perez is actually semi-competently voice acted. He's a bit corny. He hams it up a bit. But Perez VA, not bad. He actually puts in a lot of heart in there. A lot of the VAs, especially for your party, just phone it in. One, Mia is her name, and she's supposed to be an important character for the party because she represents the choice of clan loyalty versus Ezra, who represents basically like siding with the Wolf Dragoons and, basically betraying the clans, right? And so these sort of two ideals, this decision point here, basically culminates in okay, who do you choose? Well, the big problem with Mia is Mia's voice actress is phoning it in, and a lot of these voice actors are just not talented. Maybe the lines, maybe the directing, I don't know what's going on here, but it's just not delivering it quite right. It's not hitting the notes. You don't feel that Smoke Jaguar, thing. The Sakan, I can't remember how to pronounce it. Basically, it's the Smoke Jaguar Khan, right? She has got this atrocious haircut, which is lore accurate, but oh my god, it's a bomb. It looks really bad in the Unreal Engine. And the cutscenes, oh my god. There's so much here to tear apart, right? I don't want to know what. Fuck it. We're not talking about the cutscenes yet. That's its own worm, and that's a huge waste of resources that we'll talk about in a minute. And I don't want to go too harshly because it was a fan animator they hired, but they also paid for this and they asked money for this. And so criticism has to be levied where criticism is due, right? Because we all deserve a good MechWarrior game, right? And MechWarrior deserves a good fucking game. But here, MechWarrior 5 Clans is just delivering mediocrity. So, back to the story. The story suffers from a massive problem of what I call exposition dumps and telling instead of showing. Rather than focusing on the clan invasions that are taking place and the build-up for the clan invasion, they spend a lot of time in a lot of missions dedicated to talking about things in the past. One of the most obvious and more notorious examples, mission-wise, is a mission where you go to an SLDF base and there's literally a video feed of Kerensky talking to you. And for those who weren't aware, Kerensky was the protectorate of the Star League. Or the Great Protector, I can't remember his title exactly. Basically, he stepped in when the first among equals died. Basically, like the king of the Star League died. And then he was trying to hold it together, but then he decided to go on an exodus, right? Well, the problem with the story is that the story just sort of exposition dumps everything at you. And they introduce characters with this basic idea as well. So there's a character you get as a bondsman, because one of your party takes a bondsman, and he just exists to to exposition dump DCM lore. And DCM is the Draconis Combine you're invading. And the problem I'm having to explain all this is because the video game just doesn't explain anything without just dumping stuff on you. It's like, oh, this happened, and like, oh, the succession wars were big and bad. And like, oh my god, they were so barbaric. They used chemical weapons. Oh my god, holy shit, guys. And instead of like focusing on what's happening right now in the clan invasion, it's talking about all these things that had happened in the previous bits of lore. But for those who don't have any understanding of BattleTech lore, it just comes across as like blah 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 blah, and that's what it is. Because I've asked all my friends who don't know BattleTech lore what their opinion was of the story, and one of them, Robin, who knows very very little about BattleTech, like the problem is that it doesn't do a good job of introducing you to the world. It should be focusing on the here and now. What is happening now is very big. The clan invasion. Yet the clan invasion, they spend a great deal of time talking about stuff that had already happened before it happened and anything to do with it. Now, some bits of information need to be given, like a little bit of background information on, ops and stuff like that, but they should be showing you more stuff than telling. And one of the case in points in this game that really opened my eyes to the story and my problems with the story was there's this cutscene from there's a book series called I think it's called the Blood of Kerensky trilogy. I can't remember percent, but it basically is a really good book, trilogy of books, technically more in a long series, but covers the clan invasions. And there's a really cool scene where Ilkhan Showers, which is the leader of the clans, gets killed, and it's this massive space battle where they're like fighting, and the clan ship, literally it's led by Clan Wolf, and there's mechs on the hull of the ship shooting at fighters and bombers and other small inner sphere vessels that are trying to attack this Ilkhan warship, right? And what was really cool about that scene is that, wow, this is cool. I know what the scene is from. And one of the scenes, like one of the Shilohs, I think it's a Shiloh, basically suicides the bridge, killing the Ilkhan Showers, which causes the clan to stop their invasion for a little bit. But it's relegated to a cutscene rather than us playing it. And I start to ask myself that we're playing as Smoke Jaguar, yet all the cutscenes and all the story beats are talking about Clan Ghost Bear or Clan Jade Falcon. Not really Jade Falcon. They don't really talk about them too much,
Wolf,
actually.
mostly.
Clan Wolf. They talk about Clan Wolf a lot here. Hell, they even talk about Clan Nova Cats a bit. But the problem is instead of us like actually doing stuff with Smoke Jaguar, it's mostly them telling us cool stuff that's happening with the other clans. And the only thing cool we get is like there's like an atomic thing where we use atomic warheads, which is kind of taboo, bit taboo to nuke people. And we use that on like Turtle Bay, and we cause like a massive massacre. And while that was kind of cute, the way it was handled was kind of tacky. Like it was just not very interesting. And they sort of immediately detract from it by focusing on everyone else rather than what Smoke Jaguar is doing, right? And so Smoke Jaguar feels like they're not even the main characters in their own story. It feels like we're side characters in a bigger conflict. And yes, while that's technically true, it should be introducing Smoke Jaguar as a cool clan and treating him like a clan, right? We should actually be super duper fucking cool. We should be doing clan shit, committing war crimes, doing all sorts of horrific shit. But the big problem is that we're not. Our characters are too busy moralizing, and it's like, oh, it's so bad, somebody died. It's like Smoke Jaguar, the clan that doesn't give a fuck about anything or anyone except themselves, is more concerned with civilians. Are you shitting me? Like, yes, they're concerned with optics. Yes, they're concerned about, agitation and leading to rebellions, right? And the worlds they're occupying. But they're not to the point where they care about the common man, They might delude themselves into thinking that. But the reality is that they don't really treat them that way. And you spend way too much time moralizing than actually viewing the inner sphere dogs as inner sphere dogs. Like, they look down on them. And the problem with this is it's sanitized writing. It's modern day writing. They're too afraid to do what should be done. We should be playing as cool Smoke Jaguar characters with a cool, badass party of clan warriors that are here to kick ass and take names in the name of Kerensky. But no, we don't do any of that shit. All we do is fucking muck around and waddle around and go like, oh, but like, what if we hurt their feelings. Oh no, we're gonna burn their, oh, good thing we didn't burn their tea plants, God forbid. You know, they talk about preserving the infrastructure for the clan, and that's a better way of like thinking about it, and they should have focused with that angle a lot more. It's like, yes, the clanners may not want to destroy these planets because they're going to be occupying them and resupplying from these planets to push their invasion further into the inner sphere, logistically speaking. That is really cool. However, they don't really focus on that at all. It's more about my feelings. And it treats every episode is more like, or every mission, it feels like an episode, is because they have like these long-winded cutscenes that they spent a lot of time and money on, I'm telling you right now. These massive CGI cutscenes. And they're in the uncanny field. Some of them look a little better than others. Some of them are really bad. Like they're just, the characters are in the uncanny valley. And it's a lot of money they spent on these things, or a lot of time and resources they must have spent on this stuff. They should have, and I'm not kidding, they should have just used 2D portraits, pictures, to represent like the internal bays and stuff, like old video game. You would have saved so much money, and you would have like, make it like the 80s like sci-fi style that Battletech was, you know? Give it that cool sheen, you know, where the mechs look all cool. The problem is the art direction of this game is wrong, and not to besmirch the art or the art of the artist. Shimmering Sword, I think, is the name. The problem with the art is that Shimmering Sword produces really cool, realistic, non-fantasy mechs. And if you know anything about Battletech, Battletech is fantasy. It's fantasy. It's neo-feudalism in space. Come on. Don't give me that. Don't give me that. We needed our mechs to look a little bit goofy because that's what makes them look better. That's what fits with the neo-feudalistic vibes of Battletech, you know? That's the whole shtick. It's literally, you got Comstar, which is literally just the papacy. Terra is basically Constantinople, the beacon of knowledge and information, you know? And the people that work for Comstar are basically priests. All right, come on. Play up the fantasy side here. Quit pretending to go with this like super realistic like milsim look, because that's not what MechWarrior 2 had. That's not what MechWarrior 1 had. That's not what the Phoenix Hawk or Phoenix game or whatever it was called, I can't remember. It's like Pixely had. It's not what MechWarrior 3 had. It's not what MechWarrior 4 had. This is like a massive amount of revisionism that's making it feel sanitized, because the problem is that each mech is produced in a different factory by different people, right? Clan mechs are very smooth and sleek looking and weird, and they don't look like inner sphere mechs, but here they look identical to, if you put them next to a king crab, if you put a direwolf next to a king crab, if you put a mad cat, I'm not calling it timberwolf, put a mad cat next to a fucking, you know, phoenix hawk, they look like they're made by the same people. It looks like the same architect made these mechs, when these mechs were designed centuries apart and are very different pieces of technology made by very different people. These mechs should be different looking than each other. Some of these mechs are produced by different factories in the inner sphere. They should have variety between them. And that's something that in the old lore books, they did have. Some of them were a little bit more smooth. Some of them were a bit more boxy. And it was reflective of the corporations and companies that manufactured these mechs. And that really added another layer of soul to the universe that is just lost here. The problem is all the mechs, all the units, even the tanks, even the airships are all designed by the same company, is what it looks like. They're all uniform. And because they're all uniform, none of them have any individuality. There's no uniqueness between clan and inner sphere. There's no uniqueness between, you know, House Karita and, you know, the Federated Commonwealth, because at this point they had merged into a super state, you know? Or there's no uniqueness between Razzlehog forces and Draconis Combine. They're not more ragtagged. Or, hell, when we're fighting Valisex forces on the periphery. For those who don't know, the periphery is like the backwater of the inner sphere. It's like the little star systems on the edges of the inner sphere. They're, you know, ramshackle bullshit is what they are. The environment sort of portrayed that. They used one of the new mechs they made, which is the Corsair, which is a periphery assault class mech. And that was cute, but like a lot of the mechs don't really look like that. And they just look the same. And because they kind of all look the same, they all feel the same. Even the cities. Only in this game, you go to a total of, I think, we go to the desert planet, we go to Turtle Bay, and we go to that mountain spiky planet, and we go to Luthien. We go to 4 planets. And the biggest problem I have with this is that we're mostly fighting. We fight in pirate territory, and then we fight in Draconis Combine territory and sort of Razzlehog territory. I think the third planet was Razzlehog space. It was damn near close. It was damn near close. But either way, like you never really see the buildings and architecture really reflect the cultures, right? For those who don't know about Razzlehog, the Free Razzlehog Republic is mostly made up of a lot of, Japanese people, but also a lot of Nordic and Scandinavian people. And their architecture doesn't really reflect their culture. But what's weird is when you go to Luthien, the capital of the Draconis Combine, for the first time I think I've ever seen in their games, the architecture and the buildings and environments actually represent the culture that is dominant in the region. And this is an attention to detail thing, right? This should be something you see a lot more of, and we don't see enough of. The uniqueness between the different clans, the uniqueness between the great inner sphere powers, the uniqueness of the periphery states, or, barbaric pirate kingdoms. They really dropped the ball with all this stuff because Battletech is rich, right? It's one of the richest science fiction settings in America that was ever made. And it's been forgotten, and it's a true tragedy. It is a true tragedy. Battletech is fucking cool. But, like, there's so much missing.
Well, not quite forgotten, but very mishandled.
Mishandled, but most new people don't even know about it. And I don't blame them. The new Battletech stuff is kind of garbage. HBS Battletech game was kind of woke and was written by people who were politically motivated. Panorama Games Interactive is super lazy and doesn't want to put any effort with it. This franchise and series has been so horribly mismanaged, it's actually tragic. Like Catalyst Games Labs firing writers based on harassment stuff. This is tragic. We're looking at an American classic being besmirched and dragged through the mud. And it's truly, truly terrible to witness. And
Yep.
we deserve better. Both MechWarrior and Battletech fans, because they're technically separate IPs, but they're basically the same. It's because it's the video game license. Whatever. But either way, we all deserve better. We all do. And MechWarrior and the Battletech IP deserves better. It should not be treated this way. It's disrespectful to not only you guys, but to the setting. And this setting is great. What's really cool about it is that it was literally neo-feudalism in space. It's like, honestly, like Game of Thrones is just like lame. I can't even, I know Game of Thrones is like the popular thing now, but if Battletech had come into being around the 2000s, Battletech would have just been a really cool sci-fi space opera for Western audiences and Americans. And it would have been made, I mean, sure, it would have been made for other countries too, but like it was made in America. It's like, it's something that to be proud of. And it just deserves to be more than that. It deserves to be way more than that.
It could very easily do Game of Thrones style thing, but Battletech.
Very
But
easily.
better.
The Succession Wars are an excellent case in point of that. The great tragedy and fall of the Star League, we could go on about the lore, but I'm not going to get too invested into that because many of you are here to talk about the video game. And I don't blame you because we're here to talk about the video game, not the Battletech IP as a whole. But, go ahead.
As I say, before we get too far away from when we were talking about cutscenes.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of spending all that money on animation, I would have actually just preferred if they went with the classic live action of the older games. That was just really cheesy.
That would have been really soulful. Oh my god, imagine if the main menus were live action cutscenes. So in the original Mech Commander, fuck it, I'm covering my screen. I'm gonna pull up some shit. Mech Commander or MechWarrior.
Also, you're not streaming to Discord, by the way.
I know. Oh,
okay.
Just gonna pull up some stuff for Chatfish. Okay, so this was a game made by Microprose. The old Microprose, not the revived one. And Hasbro Interactive. Remember, this was pretty big back in the day. Battletech was a massive behemoth. Bigger than what Warhammer 40k is now. Like, this IP was titanic. But it all imploded. Yeah, we're not going to get in the mess of it.
That's the last contact. Moving to escort position. Roger that.
So this is super old. Be patient with it if you're new. But the cool thing about this is that they use CGI to do the the cutscenes, and then they use live action stuff. and it had a whole different sort of charm to it. Now, these are games from the 90s, mind you.
Bravo zone, clear.
Delta zone, clear.
Like a fucking
Panther,
movie.
I need Charlie zone status. Report.
Sir, it's real quiet down here.
I think we can call it clear.
You think? Don't think, Mech Warrior. Find out.
Look at the
Finish
acting.
your sweep.
Colonel, flight deck needs final confirmation.
Commander Harrison, can you confirm Charlie Zone clear? I have an invasion to go to.
Sweeping last sector now, sir.
Ooh.
I think we can count on Mr. Harrison. Tell them we're clear.
We are go for invasion. Touchdown in. 132. 131.
Ricochet Lance, move to waypoint green. And stay sharp. I don't like the smell of it.
got something.
Clear the channels. I have enemy contact.
Past the abort window, Colonel.
Panther, move them up. Let's see what we've got.
Commander, I assume you have this up.
Increase volume,
It's
please.
done, folks.
Command, this is hard, King.
Says I'm-
Target's coming into vision.
What is he showing them?
yourself, my little-
Oh, MechWarrior.
MECHWARRIOR.
Son of a bitch!
Sir, they've got us ranged.
Get to him. He can't be allowed to get off a message.
I'm ejecting! Ejecting!
Track that pod.
Magcat, Jaguar Magcat.
Venture, Viper, move to these coordinates.
Where the hell?
Hold your position, Panther.
He's way outgunned.
Hit him. Get his attention.
Sir, I...
Do it!
Got its attention, sir.
Now move out.
Roger that!
Follow this path. Turn. Take the turn. Almost there.
I can't keep up this pace.
Now take the next right.
Commander, this is a dead end.
I don't have jump jets.
I know what you've got. Hold your position.
Damn it, sir. I need some help.
Here it comes. Panther, finish him.
Hey, Panther, did you miss us?
Commander,
Reporting Charlie Zone, all clear.
nice shooting, team.
Harrison, excellent job. Now cinch up tight, soldiers. We're coming in hard.
Mech Warriors, you should have a visual on us. Form up and look sharp. We have an invasion to go to.
Roger that. One clanner down, about 100 more to go. Welcome to Port Arthur, sir.
So, there you can see very much a lot of soul and charm when it comes to the acting, right? They're putting a lot of stuff there. When it comes to the current deliveries, there's nothing quite like it. And I'll see if I can pull up some MechWarrior 5 cutscenes. Just to demonstrate the acting differences.
While you find that, the what they should have done for clans, because like everybody thinks BattleTech had that intro
me,
thing, which
Helmar
just did a quick overview through some just images and music of the
And die.
Okay.
background history for BattleTech. They could have just did that for clans as well.
So this is MechWarrior 5 clans.
I'll be sure to give you a more personal introduction after I pry you out of that pretty little mech of yours.
Challenge accepted.
is as dumb as a pile of rocks. I'll be back to reclaim what is mine soon enough. In the meantime, you all don't look up at the sky too hard. Your brains might fall out.
And that's enough of that. That is so tacky and just not nearly as well implemented. Like the how do I put it? When it comes to both just the presentation visually, it's uncanny. Like the teeth just look terrible, and so the uncanny valley ruins anything that's there. The voice acting is so. Like it's very average and it's very hit or miss with MechWarrior 5 clans, because there are some characters that talk a little bit better than others. Like Perez is by far the strongest, like one of the stronger ones. Alexander isn't actually that bad, but he only comes into the end of the game.
What a mess.
There's Perez, by the way. Just giving MechWarrior 5 clans the benefit of the doubt by showing at least 2 for them.
In your findings.
The interrogation shows he harbors no love for Auscarita or his former handlers. His risk to the clan, minimal.
And you understand the responsibilities of laying claim to this bondsman. His failures will become yours if he does not meet expectations.
Galaxy Commander. I believe his skills will be of great use to us.
Very well. Yuji. You have fought as a warrior. But that time has passed.
Oh damn, that audio.
Jaguar now.
We had that in our game too, so it's not just us, okay.
From this moment onwards, you are bound to MechWarrior Ezra.
Also, this guy needs to turn on V-syncing. There's some serious screen tearing.
Get him out of my sight.
Now, I want to point out that the screen tearing wasn't ours, alright, when we played it. But here, it doesn't really have that sort of charm. And when you look at the CG, if they're going for a pseudo-realistic look, you have to ask yourself, guys, would it have been better to have live-action sets and just go all in the ham? Because honestly, at that point, I would much prefer live-action cutscenes. Like, if you're gonna do this, go ahead and get back into the live-action cutscenes. Because the reality is that unless you're using CG for, like, the battle scenes and stuff to, you know, use the mechs and, like, big battles, okay, fair enough, right? But here, there's really no reason to do it anymore. Like, it's uncanny. It looks weird. And the clans, like, some of the VAs, I don't know if they phoned it in, but, like, Mia sounds like she's talking in her bathroom. And her deliveries are abysmal. Like, she should have been like, no, you need to retake these, and you need to go clean up your mic or something, or get some better mic. Because, like, when she talks, she's like, I guess, these filthy inner sphere dogs, don't like them. The clans are strong. Like, that's basically it. Except imagine if I'm wearing a bucket on my head. It's just one of those things, right? If we look at another one, right? And this is going to be the final one, too. But here is a older version from the MechWarrior line to the Mech Commanders.
It is the 31st century, and mankind is once again at war. The battlefields of the future are dominated by huge robotic war machines known as battle mechs. Piloting these awesome weapons of war are men and women, the elite of the elite, knowing that each battle could be their last. They are mech warriors.
Heavy laser fire. Casualties. Medics are needed at position Fox. This is ground command. Can you hold the line? See them now. Wait, command. We're not in position yet, ground leader. Ground forces, can you hold? They're breaking through. Here they come. Recon 1. We need more time. Do what I can, sir. Get ready, Lance Leader. They're coming. Oh, man. I see them, ground Lance Leader. Jaguars are splitting up. I repeat, the mechs have split up.
Copy, Ground Commander. We're on them. Fireflies 1 and 2. Track the Thor.
Roger that, Commander. We're almost there.
We'll handle the Mad Cat. Big Al, stand by to intercept.
Moving to position. Interception successful.
Die, Clanner.
He's going critical. Ejecting.
We're tracking the Thor. Lance Leader, do you read?
Moving the target area. Leg damage is slowing me down. Firefly 1 and 2. I can't get there in time. Slow him down while I get into position. You're going to have to be the bait.
Understood, sir. We're on it.
Have locked.
Fire!
Come on. Come on.
Anytime now, sir.
Hang on. That's it. This should be accomplished.
But when it comes down to it, you feel the excitement there, the energy, the impact, right? It's heroic. It's got all sorts of like intensity there, right? And it's one of those things that you don't really see anymore in the other MechWarrior games. Like, they focus, I think, a bit too much on the personality character thing. Like, look at this, right? It should be incredibly telling. Look at the cover art thumbnail of this game. Notice how the mechs are subdued? And the character is actually the biggest and most important thing about MechWarrior 5 Clans. The character, Liam, is more important than the mechs. That is telling because it's not what the other MechWarrior covers were, right? Because it tells you very quickly what, psychologically, they're thinking when it comes to these games. So if I just pull up some MechWarrior covers, let's take a quick look, right? Even MechWarrior 5 Clans had a focus on it, right? Like MechWarrior 5 Clans, they have a big atlas, but then they have a little dude in front of it, right? But if you look at the other MechWarrior games, like MechWarrior 2, my first introduction to the game, I played it on the Sega Saturn. It was fucking rough, but it was really cool. A giant fucking Mad Cat, right? MechWarrior 3, another Mad Cat. Mad Cats are just popular. They sort of took over as the new staple, right? The original MechWarrior, you know? You've got a very, in the pen and paper, like the focus is on, you know, the mechs. Mechs. That's what it's about, right? And that's something that you just don't see anymore. Hell, even this big cool art piece of like Clan Ghost Bear attacking, I really like this art piece. And I used to have it as a wallpaper way back when. But its focus is on the action, right? And you can have characters in books and in the video games and in the stories, but the focus should not be entirely on your petty grievances and interpersonal relationships as much. When there is a massive fucking interstellar war being waged. Millions of people are dying, all right? Like, this is a bloody, bloody thing. Multiple clans are invading. The great houses, the entirety of the Inner Sphere is uniting against the clan invasion. And this war is massive. So much so that even Comstar comes out of Terra and to go fight them in Tukiyat to turn the tide. But, like, that's the big thing. This game, MechWarrior 5 Clans, does not encapsulate, does not capture these grandiose ideas, this warfare, right? 31st century warfare is what the sort of idea was for these games. Model writers are like journalists, Frederick. Women in war zones that take pics of themselves with the tank, and the man take the pic of the tank. Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of what it feels like, yes. It's like, if I were to summarize MechWarrior 5 Clans, it'd be one of those selfies of a girl and being like, look, check out my new cat. And like half the picture is her face, and then the rest is you know, like a tiny picture of like the part of the cat's ear. It's like, okay, it's not really about the cat, is it? And so it's one of those things where it's like they don't really understand what makes MechWarrior great anymore. And the people who are working on it don't care, right? Russ, the guy who's like the director or whatever of the project, like he doesn't give a shit.
No, he doesn't. And I'm pretty sure with 5, their idea for it was to be a character-driven story instead of focusing on the actual clan invasion at all.
Yep. And so they focus too much on the character-driven story because they're like, oh, we need to make them relatable and likable because nobody would like MechWarrior if it was about MechWarrior stuff, you know? But it's like, okay, well, why did MechWarrior 2 blow up? MechWarrior 2 is a massive game. This game came with our PC, I remember. And I have all the jewel cases back over there. MechWarrior 2 Mercenaries, the Ghost Bear one, and like the original jewel case. The original jewel case is sitting right there on that little fucking pillow. I can see it from over here. Like, they came with PCs and stuff. It was like a staple. Microsoft was proud of these games to basically be like, yeah, no, it comes with your PC, or it comes with like certain software and stuff. And Activision used to be a staple name that was actually respectable. Long ago. In a different time, Chatfish. Back when, you know, different things meant different things. But either way. Yeah, CD-ROM and 3D accelerator sales. Yes, I remember that. I remember watching my dad play this as a little kid. And I was like, oh my god, it looks so cool. It's like, friendly dropship, ETA, 5 minutes. Like the little fucking Betty talking to the MechWarrior pilot. That was the coolest fucking shit. Coolest fucking shit I'd ever seen in my life. Oh my god. And that's the thing. Like, MechWarrior 5 Clans, is it this pivotal title? It's got 1,000 reviews and 71% positive. And a lot of these reviews are going to start going up because a lot of people that buy MechWarrior now are old people. And there's nothing wrong with that. But they're used to getting MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries, a watered-down shell of a game. They're used to getting half-baked ideas. We've gotten complacent, right? And here's the problem with complacency. Complacency is the reason why things are bad, why it's mediocre. You deserve better. You deserve better. I shouldn't have to say that out loud, but I do, because so many people, and I see it all the time, they're like, yeah, well, at least we got a game. No, you deserve more. You deserve far more than what you're getting. You deserve far fucking more. Not just that, but the games as a whole, right? The games deserve better. What have we gotten, right? Let's look at MechWarrior where MechWarrior was last left off. MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries, the last one that I remember playing, and it's one of the later ones, right? What could you do in MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries? What could you do, right? Well, you know, the missions were not sandbox. You could, like, choose which side to get your faction reputation up with, and it would affect some of the story stuff. And there was, like, tanks, planes, boats. There wasn't any infantry, sadly, because they had problems with infantry. They just used 2D sprites of little people running around, so like, ah, you know, because giant mechs are coming towards them, and they'd freak out. And there was, like, one level with fucking, like, you know, Yetis as, like, a joke. But... But, like, that's okay. That's kind of cool, right? They had infantry in MechWarrior 3. MechWarrior 3 is, in my opinion, superior in some ways than MechWarrior 4. I wish MechWarrior 3 got a Mercenaries edition, or Mercenaries version of the game. Because MechWarrior 3, you had things like toppling. So if you, like, did enough kinetic strikes on enemies, they'd fall over, right? There was enemy infantry. There was light vehicles. There were helicopters. And there were boats and stuff to fight. And there were also, you had to fight spheroid dropships, if I remember right, one mission, if I'm remembering right. Correct me if I'm wrong. But, yeah, there was a lot of variety. MechWarrior 5 Clans, you can fight mechs, tanks, helicopters, some aerospace fighter stuff, like just the, like, close air support Shylone bomber. And there's, like, one Gazelle boss, which is kind of crappy. And you fight some spheroid dropships. That's more or less just the same of what we've been fighting, but with less stuff. There are turrets, but there are less turret variety. It's like these crappy little pop-up turrets that are incredibly identical and super lame. The tanks all look the same, and there's no, like, super big heavy tanks. They have Shrek PPC tanks, but, like, they don't look that intimidating. Like, they don't feel intimidating. They're fucking like little babies. Just step on them, like, you're dead.
Yeah.
Tanks are terrifying. MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries, the Demolisher tank, or was it, which tank was it? It was this
I think
big tank. You
Demolisher
couldn't
is like
step on it. It had 2
two
barrels on either
AC-20s.
side, and it would fire and it would like obliterate your mech if you got caught in its blast. They had it in Mercenaries. I don't remember. Before the redesigns happened.
Didn't MW4 Mercs have a level where you fight ships? Ask Psychodad.
Yes, it did. There was one level where the first planet you go to, there's a harbor, and during this harbor you have to help defend it. Originally, there's a couple like patrol boats you fight. There's some hovercraft vehicles and some mechs and helicopters and some airships that attack you in that mission. And I think the second mission or one of the later missions, you fight a fucking battleship, and then like the final mission, you fight mechs, like enemy boats, along with aircraft and like fucking 2 battleships. And you have to fight these battleship bosses. And it's really fucking cool. And the harbor's got their like Calliope cannon defenses and allied troops that are trying to like fight and stuff. And it's really cool. It's like a big battle. There's another battle in that game where you're fighting in the desert between, I think, Katrina Steiner's forces and Davion forces, loyalists, if I remember right. And there's this little pass. There's like a ton of helicopters coming in, and there's like a mech company waiting there for you. And they're holding on, but they're all, bedraggled. They're all battered. And like there's a wave of enemy forces that just pile in this massive mech battle of like 40 mechs on screen. Plus, you can also support 2 lances. In MechWarrior Mercenaries 4, you could command 2 mech lances worth of battle mechs. In this game, or MechWarrior 5 Mercs, you can only command 4. What they should have been doing is they should have been building on it, right? You should be able to go more. This is the problem with complacency, right? We're complacent with this stuff, but we deserve more. What MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries should have been is you should be starting as a mercenary lance with a leopard dropship, sure, whatever, upgrading to a spheroid dropship, getting tank companies, getting support companies, getting air support, your own artillery vehicles. You should effectively be becoming a mercenary army to fight for the great houses. And it should lead into the clan wars, right? The clan invasion. As your massive mercenary army, capable of fielding multiple lances, capable of fielding multiple, tank companies and stuff like that. You should literally be getting big enough to the point where it's like, okay, I'm going to send like this spheroid dropship over there, and they're going to take contract for them, and I'm going to go over here with this one over here. And it should be like that. You should be building up sim aspects. There should be more mechanics, more features. Every game should be building on top of each other, adding more stuff, making better character progression, right? So your mech warriors level up and you can choose like their perks, their abilities, and you can customize and tailor the armor types of your mechs, setting up saving loadouts, better user interface, more customization options. Things should be getting polished. Being able to port in your custom like JPEGs, like if you want your picture of your dog for your mercenary company, upload it there, bam, that's your mercenary company symbol. It's little Borkums, stuff like that. They should be thinking bigger, building bigger and better. Because the problem is we're getting regurgitated games. It's the Call of Duty syndrome. We're getting, here's Call of Duty 1. It's got a campaign, it's okay. Call of Duty 2, it's got a campaign, it's okay. Call of Duty World at War, it's got a campaign, it's got co-op this time. Oh, there's that. And it's like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, there's some weapon customizations, but not really anything new. And it's like, okay, well, but build on this, make it more. You're just selling us the same game again and again. Why should I get MechWarrior 5 clans over mercenaries? And when I think about it, I actually would rather play more mercenaries, and I'm sick to death of mercenaries. Unless I mod it, I ain't gonna touch it. It needs more work. There needs to be infantry. You should be able to play with more things. Fuck, why shouldn't you be able to fucking swap between your mechs? And they added that, right? That's cool. Why not be able to also swap seamlessly to your aircraft support, switching to your Shylon bomber and provide air cover for yourself? They should add more stuff for you to do. Make the game bigger and better. Keep building on top of it. Make it into the BattleTech MechWarrior simulator it was supposed to be. And I mean a true sim. You should be literally being able to be a mercenary company and doing whatever you want. You want to be a mercenary company and start with just tanks? Fucking start with just tanks. You're going to get fucked up. Good luck. You should be able to be so many things. BattleTech is a massive IP. The amount of ideas you and I can spit out together, chat, is insane. we could probably spitball an idea bucket list of like a roadmap for a great MechWarrior title that they could start working towards. MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries should just like, okay, first game, introduce mechs, and you can only play as mechs, but like there'll be infantry and tanks and airplanes. Next game, okay, now you can actually take control of more of these things, and you can interact with them more, and we can start building them. Like, not only can you customize your MechWarriors, but your aerospace fighters, you can actually customize your pilots and stuff. And your tank jockeys, you can customize and paint your tanks too. You can paint your like dropship. Your dropship can even fly in and provide air support occasionally, like a fucking AC-130, like fucking firing LRMs and shit. Like being able to do more and more and more and more. Like they should really just turn this into a BattleTech MechWarrior simulator. Like it was always meant to be.
That would be cool.
And the thing is, like Bonoshi says, too much effort and expensive. That's true. It would be expensive to do. But here's the thing, right? Every game is iterative, right? So MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries came out. It introduced all these Innersphere mechs, right? It's got all these tanks and all these building assets. All right, we've got some assets to work with. Now we can reuse those assets for MechWarrior 5 Clans. And we can use the mercenary systems and all those systems and build it a little bit more. The thing is, each game should be building on top of each other and getting better and better and better and better. There should always be a reason to buy the next game. You should be excited to buy this game. You should be fucking clamoring, because MechWarrior 5 Clans is just MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries, or 5 Mercenaries, but with 10, or not 10 times, maybe just, let's be modest, double the content of the other game. It is twice as many enemy units, or new units, new mechs, new infantry, new helicopters to fight, new mission types, new factions, new upgrades, new abilities, refined leveling and class systems and stuff like that for your mech warriors. It should be building on top of it. These games should be getting better and better and better and better. Not side grading or worse than. We should literally, you have assets. You made assets. Use them and build on top of them. It's not hard.
Mm-hmm.
You've done all the work.
To touch on your we deserve better, same what you were saying before, we do, but there is a definite mentality that most people seem to have with these more niche things of, if we don't buy it, then we won't get any more.
Yep. And I get that fear. But the reality is Piranha Games Interactive has done fucking nothing with the MechWarrior license. They've attacked their fans. They've attacked modders, being their fans. The Living Legends modders that made that really cool mod. There's a really cool mod called MechWarrior Living Legends, or was, before they attacked them. It was a game that basically is like Battlefield but MechWarrior. You could be a clan, you could be, or not clan, you could be battle armor. You could fight in battle armor, which is power armor. You could fight in a mech. You could fight in a tank. You could fight as a helicopter. You could be in a fucking aerospace fighter. You could be any of those things and fight each other in this massive Battlefield style map. It was super cool. It didn't work on my computer, but I always watched YouTube videos and it looked really fun. Right? And I wish it worked on my PC because I would have loved to play that, but it didn't. So, oh well. But oh well. The thing is, it looked really cool. And MechWarrior Online killed it. You know why they killed it? Because modders were outclassing them. Volunteers with free time were outclassing them and humiliating them. And so, the nasty fuckers decided to rebrand MechWarrior Online, rebrand it to have the Living Legends in it when you boot it up now. So that they could...
Hold on that. I'm looking up updates on that, actually.
Well, that's what last thing I read.
Okay.
Dustin the Grim donates $5 say Razorfist brings up this a lot. And I agree. BattleTech MechWarrior RPG. Give it to Harebrained Schemes. Oh no, don't give it. No. They already did that. So I'm gonna talk about Harebrained Schemes for a second, because I've got some beef with them. And they've got some beef with me. So Harebrained Schemes, I confronted one of their developers a while back because they were hiring people based on race. Meaning if you weren't a correct race, they weren't gonna hire you. And this is like, we needed more diversity, forced diversity. Harebrained Schemes is hyper woke. Avoid them like the plague. They're also incredibly politicized as well. They are not to be trusted. And they are not good at their jobs. BattleTech, HBS BattleTech is a fucking sloppy game. It's got optimization issues. It's just poorly made. They didn't really add anything to it. It's got a fucking crap story about some fucking made up bullshit faction. Instead of using any actual factions or lore, they just started adding the lore, like retconning things. Like, okay, so let me pitch this to you for just a second. In HBS's Battletech, you play as a little rinky-dinky mercenary company on the periphery, the south periphery, you know, where the Canopus guys are and where the Turians are, right? And so you're down there, right? They added some made-up faction I can't remember the name of with a Mary Sue. Super diverse. Don't worry about it. Super empowering. Don't worry about it.
She's the coolest ever.
Unironically, yes. And so they add this, and you get access to a lost Star League, rare, only one in existence spaceship for deep space exploration. You use this fucking exploration ship in front of the great houses. Now, I want to point out in the lore, Star League technology is prized so much that wars are fought over it. Millions and millions of people died because they thought there was a base that had Star League stuff in it, and it's a short story called Ghost Rain, and they nuked it, this entire planet, killing everybody there to make sure nobody would get it. And all it was a tiny recruitment office with old recruitment papers about signing up for the Star League Defense Force. That's it. And so you have access to this ancient thing called the Argos. It's a super rare piece of technology. And realistically, how this has happened in history and in the lore, Comstar found out that the Turian Concordat had discovered an ancient Star League battleship. They proceeded to kill everyone and then blow up the battleship to make sure that they wouldn't get it. And use it in like a basically masked terrorist attack. They would not, in a million billion years, let some rinky-dink fucking ass mercenary company control the one surviving experimental prototype ship for deep space exploration. They would kill you. If they wouldn't kill you, the great houses would kill you. And if they wouldn't kill you, the pirates would try to kill you. You would be fucked. Your only bet would to be reaching out to one of the great houses like, I'll give this to you. Please don't kill me. And please just, like, you know, let me have, like, lifetime pension so I can retire somewhere, you know, and I'll be quiet. I won't be a problem. I'll just live on some, you know, planet wherever and just keep quiet forever about this. And that is if you're lucky. They'll accept that and they won't shoot you in the back of the head. That is how that story should have been handled. You don't need to apologize, Dustin. It's me being angry. Just because I'm upset about this.
Before we forget about
you're spurging.
Yeah.
There was earlier donos.
Oh, okay, go for
that
it.
we didn't get. Okay, so start of the stream. Toilet gift of membership. Cliff donated $10, said the lack of individually mapped buttons on the controller felt weird after Mercs. Much love, Kibbs. Thank you for covering this game.
Thank you for the support, and thank you for watching our channel. We appreciate it. You don't have to thank me for anything. It's my job to cover shit.
And then Marker Telebackland has been a member for 12 months as a software miner.
And thank you for your long-term support. Really appreciate it.
And that's it. And before it gets buried, there was a question Grumpy had. Let me scroll up and see if I can find it.
Go for it.
And it's gone. He was asking, because you're talking about infantry and stuff, and he's not really big on Battletech or knows much about it. His question was, why is infantry important? Why should he care as a big stompy mech that there's some guy shooting at him with the rifle?
Because infantry can take down mechs in Battletech. Infantry is something that's really cool, and it's all about asymmetrical warfare, right? Battletech, what makes Battletech and what makes your battle mechs so fucking cool in Battletech is combined arms warfare. Combined arms warfare is what sets Battletech apart from Gundam and other settings. While they still have infantry and tanks and stuff, they're more like cannon fodder chew toys. Tanks are totally viable in Battletech. A fucking tank can kill a mech just as easily. Like a Shrek PPC tank can fucking pop a mech, an assault mech, in one shot if it hits him in the cockpit. Like, they're just as valid. There are literally jump jet assault infantry squads. Some of the coolest bits of lore are the brave fucking infantry. the infantry, the gigachads, the fucking absolute the balls on those guys. Like, let's talk about the jump jet infantry. There is literally a jump jet infantry group, if I remember right, for the Free World's Republic, or Free World's Republic? No, I can't remember the name of the faction.
Free World's League.
Free World's League. Purple people. Purple Eagle. Merrick, House Merrick, if I remember right. And this unit is deployed via dropships. So they'll fly in from dropships, and they jump out like Attack on Titan. And they basically, their only job is to, hopefully, as they're on their way down, land basically C4 charges, or sticky bombs, basically, to mechs. And then get out the fuck out of there as quickly as possible. And then detonate them. They're to drop on top of mechs. Like brave motherfuckers, okay? Never, ever, ever make fun of the infantry. The infantry are brave little bastards. They have to go up against power armor. The power armor in Battletech makes Space Marines look like fucking chew toys. The power armor suits in these things are capable of taking down battle mechs. And also, they fucking move fast. BA armor is fucking fast. Now, there's some derpy ones that make me want to blow my brains out, like the horse armor things. But that's me hating on clans, you know, as usual. Oh god, these things are so stupid looking. But
they're just cool clanners kids.
The fact that they go in herds is just brain. It's like some stuff in lore is just dumb. But
I
like,
have not heard of these ones.
There's a reason why I don't talk about them. But either way, they're in one of my source books. So the fucking the battle armor, right? They're basically more like Starship Troopers power armor from the Starship Troopers book, right? They're capable of using jump jets. They move fast. They can hop on mechs. They can tear mechs open and rip the pilot out, you know, and crush them. Like, they're scary. So infantry have to go up against that. Infantry are brave little bastards. They crawl into buildings and they shoot out of buildings, and all it takes for a mech is to turn and fire several of its weapons, and everyone inside that building is like on that side is just caked. The infantry play a pivotal role because they have anti-mech weapons. They are pretty fucking important. They actually do matter. So infantry are incredibly important, and the fact that they're always sidelined in the video games is the most tragic thing. Battle armor is incredibly important. Infantry is incredibly important because they have anti-mech squads, which are dedicated on mech fighting. These brave fuckers. These brave little guys. They're just gotta stand up to those big mean old mechs. It also gives a lot more value to light mechs, especially light mechs equipped with flamers or, you know, 50 cal Brownings and stuff like that. Like, those are more meant to deal with also light armored vehicles like riverjacks or infantry squads, you know? And so that's what flamethrowers should be used for. You see an infantry squad in a building and wash it. And little guys should, you know, tumble out of the side of the building going like, because they're burning. Sad. But you know what I mean?
The problem is all of our recent Battletech games and MechWarriors is heavily focusing on the mechs, and it's just having the mechs be kind of a dime a dozen. They're everywhere, and it's also making the scale of everything get really skewed in the way it looks and the world is.
So the big thing is, right, battle mechs are ancient machines that have been passed down by generation, right? They are old. Some things and certain ones don't work. They're inherited heirlooms, great steeds of war. And these things are fucking cool in the books, the way they portray them. And the problem with the MechWarrior video games is because of how the games are set up, you just sort of shoot them like they're just another dude in a Call of Duty shooter, and it's like, okay, whatever. It's like, there are certain things that is like, no, that should be like more of a duel, like a big thing. The problem I have with the MechWarrior 5 clans is MechWarrior 5 clans, it's just, you can down mechs like they're fucking cannon fodder. And you can just, gone, gone. And there, I killed like 30 Inner Sphere mechs in like 5 minutes. And it's like, oh my god, dude. Do you have any idea how much damage that actually is? It's like a fucking company of mechs that are just gone now. That would be catastrophic. What you should be doing is your Lance or your Star in MechWarrior 5 clans should be mostly going up against tanks and infantry and occasionally some mechs. And then more should be built up when you a Lance on Star duel. You know, it should be treated like this epic thing that's happening. There are mechs making contact with other battle mechs. These are knights fighting great warriors with great prestige. of various legacies. These are a big deal when they make contact with each other. It's not just a fucking Call of Duty shooter where it's like, pew pew, I got him, It's, oh my god, I just fucking killed the Red Baron, Like, this guy is got a legacy, he's got a name, he's got, his name carries meaning and value. He's not just some rinky-dinky dude. Now, there are obviously lower class mech warriors, because much like anything in society, like there's the lower class of knights, right? But these are big things. These are big deals. So the reason why you should have infantry, tanks, and war trains, and other things, and boats, and just anything you can imagine, underwater battles even. You should literally be able to go underwater, see a submarine, grab it with one of your mech arms if your neural helmet works good enough, pick up that submarine, and then club somebody to death with it. With all the people inside turning into goo. Like, that's something that happens. That can happen in the pen and paper.
Another thing that isn't really display shown well with the games, the mobility of the mechs.
These things are supposed to move like fucking animals. Now, the older clan mechs, or not clan, sorry, the inner sphere mechs are a bit more, they need a bit of WD-40, like, eat, eat. No, they don't quite work as well. Their fingers might not work so well because the neural helmet's bad. And sometimes they don't, like, if you're not a good enough connection for being a mech warrior genetically, like, you can't get the fingers to open. I don't know why I'm just gesticulating so much. You guys can't see my hands, but
He's just wiggling around.
You're thinking about fingers, and you look at your own fingers, like,
yeah, I'm
oh,
like,
no.
look at the wiggly fingies. But yeah, so like, being able to do that is actually a big deal, And so mechs are supposed to move kind of like animals. That's how the myomer fiber works. The myomer fiber is basically like the muscles for these mechs, right? It's the internal bits. And it was basically invented by Dr. Atlas. No big deal. I just know lore. That's why the Atlas was named after him. Isn't that neat? That's neat. All right, so the big thing is, when it comes to these battle mechs, is that they're supposed to move like living things. That's why they're based off of animals, because that's what makes them so scary. They move really fast, right? Obviously, the assault class mechs are obviously slower, just like the heavies, but lights and mediums are super agile. And how they're supposed to be valued, and this is what problem that MechWarrior 5 Clans does not do right. So, in the tabletop, if I remember right, you generate evasion by moving. Correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't played tabletop stuff in like fucking forever. But like, lights generate evasion, and as they generate evasion, they're harder to hit. And so that's the armor of a light. Now in MechWarrior 5 Clans, there's no such thing. You can move as fast as you can, but you just pretty much die. I know there's a factor in the game that's supposed to make it easier or harder for them to hit you because you're moving, but it just doesn't work very well because you just get killed pretty much anytime you do anything. But the big thing about lights and mediums is that you're supposed to be more agile and maneuverable, so they should still be viable even when going against heavier lances of mechs. Yes, you don't have the same amount of weapons. If you hold still, you're going to get fucked. But the big thing is, you're maneuverable. You should be dipping and weaving out of trees, weaving behind buildings and stuff. And that's why buildings shouldn't be so destructible. You should be able to use your thrusters to hop up on top of buildings in urban warfare and then fire down on the mechs. And then do DFAs, drop right on top of them, Or quickly run in with one of your like lighter mechs, like a Panther, and just fucking side swipe a fucking, Atlas across the face. Yeah, it'll only smack him, right? But there should be such things as like pilots, like mechanics and mech warriors for your pilot dealing with like, G's, or not necessarily G's, but like impact. So if you're hit with kinetic weapons, if your mech falls over, your pilot should actually like have to reorientate himself, because the neural helmet that's connected to your character's head, that helps you stabilize, acts as a gyro stabilizer for your battle mech. And so that should help you, get back up. But if your pilot's a little bit, knocked around, so to speak, like, he should struggle to regain his balance. And so things like that, stability and knockover, should be something they should be adding back to the games. But MechWarrior 5 Clans doesn't have stability knockover. Part of the big thing that makes kinetic weapons cool in Battletech is that you can knock people over. The other thing is that you can melee, you can smack somebody over and then stomp on their face. If you stomp on their face, it crushes their little cockpit and kills them. They're dead.
By the way, they have a scene in fucking the Clans game where she stomps on his mech, but she doesn't actually stomp on the head. They weren't bothered enough. Fucking.
Oh, she stomps on the cockpit if I remember right, but her foot
No,
doesn't.
she stomps on the chest, not on the cockpit.
I think it's near the cockpit, but either way, it doesn't even the foot doesn't depress the mech at all. So
No,
it
it
just
doesn't.
rests on it. So even if he was inside there, or that was where the cockpit was, he wouldn't be dead, because the foot needs to, depress and crush into the mech's armor, and crush the compartment where he would be. Yes, you're right, and that was a dumb scene.
Yeah. But back
It
to
was
the
done for
lights,
more reasons, but
lights and mediums, and now they should still be viable even like against the heavier mechs. As Dashley points out, in MWO, which is purely PvP, lights and mediums are still absolutely viable because you're not fighting an AI that will just instant track you, and mechs don't instant turn on a dime in MWO like they do in Mercenaries and Clans.
Yeah, they've streamlined these games for being shooters, and I think that's the big problem here. They need to treat the MechWarrior games like they are, right? Like, these things should be agile and maneuverable if they're meant to be, but if they're atlases and stuff, they should be cumbersome. They got the slow thing down, but they're not really cumbersome. You don't feel heavy and big. You just feel like you're in a shooter game that's not responsive, which is not good. And so that's the other thing, right? There's so many things that MechWarrior 5 Clans just doesn't hit right, and a part of it plays into the incompetence of Piranha Games Interactive, and another part of it also plays into the fact that it's designed for consoles first. Here's the thing, right? Should console players not be allowed to play MechWarrior? No, I think that games should be made for everybody so everyone can play them. However, here's the thing first. The game should first be designed, first and foremost, to be a successor to the other MechWarrior games, building on top of what came before, and actually adding something new. And then they should then, perfect that. And then if they have to cut anything down a little bit to make it work on consoles, then do that then. Because you can always work back some things that are like, okay, maybe infantry won't work for the consoles because the consoles can't handle it, right? All right, well, maybe try turning the infantry into 2D sprites. There's ways to make it work. They don't have to be 3D models. Make them 2D sprites. It'll cut down on, problems, and people will still actually get to fight infantry squads. And they're so tiny, you're not going to see the detail really well anyways. Hell, even in modern Total War games, when you scroll out, most of the enemy or the units on screen are always 2D sprites at a certain distance. Because you know why? Because the model is already so tiny, it might as well be a sprite. It's not like you're going to see any details. There's so many ways to handle it. So many ways. Then mods, you can customize your mech. I mean, you can customize it a little bit, but the problem with like MechWarrior 5 Clans is that they don't really. So, MechWarrior Online is not a very good game. You shouldn't play it. It's not very good. But if you do play it, there are some things that it does nice. It's got I don't remember how it is now, unless something changed, but it's got a pretty good mech lab where you can customize your mech stuff. You can even
it's better than Mercenaries.
Yeah, you can even customize your interior, right? And there's so much here that you can do, right? You can put like, if I remember, I had like a laser cup and like a little fucking Clan Wolf speakers when I was in my clan mech. So I go, oh, every time I kill somebody.
You can do that.
And I've got like my mech all decked out because I used to play that game a lot back in the day, but I don't play it anymore. And I got like a mega laser cup because I have a laser build, and so like when I move in my mech, my little cup like wiggles too, and it's like the liquid and it wiggles around. And it's like, okay, you can customize the interior, little details like that, and you can also customize your mech quite a bit. I don't understand why they don't just take the MechWarrior Online customization stuff and just add it to MechWarrior 5. Why not? Why are we getting half-baked games? And the reason why they're doing it is because they're trying to prop up the MMO. And because they're trying to prop up the MMO, they're sabotaging these games from being better than they could be. We can't have PvP in MechWarrior 5 Clans or Mercenaries. Why not? Or did they ever add it back retroactively to Mercenaries? I know they added some stuff to multiplayer.
Mercenaries, I think, does have a mech lab, but it's shit.
It is shit.
Clans was better than Mercenaries, and MWOs is just the best out of all three.
Yeah, Clans felt like it had improved customization options.
It was, comparatively.
Like, just give us the mech lab from fucking MechWarrior Online. Why not? Why shouldn't we have that? It's making me want to scream, chat. Make me want to scream. You already have the superior mech lab. You've had years to refine it. Just put it in the fucking game. Update the fucking game with it.
Because, Gibbs, if they bring too much of MWO into the other things, there won't be any reason to play MWO.
Oh my god.
literally the reason they stated for not bringing some of the stuff to mercenaries was because, well, there's already a MechWarrior Online. You don't need it in this.
Yeah, but this is a PvE game.
It doesn't matter.
Our PvE game gets fucking shafted. They're shafting themselves. Oh my god, so they don't understand. Okay, so you can have your cake and eat it. Piranha Games Interactive. I'll help you. I'll help you, okay? You want your cake and you want to eat it? I got your back, you little fucking assholes. So here, what we're gonna do, or what you should do, you little munchies, is you should do this. Put all the fucking mechs into, like, MechWarrior Mercenaries, or whatever, and uplift the engine or whatever, or make MechWarrior 6 Mercenaries, and charge us again like an asshole, okay? Let's even go that far. Charge us again for the same goddamn thing, but on a slightly new engine. Assholes. Ugh. And then, just take the Mech Lab stuff, put it in there, put all the mechs over there, all of them, assholes, and then, after that, actually, no, where are the quad mechs? Oh my god, I forgot about that. That's another complaint. Alright, we'll worry about that later. So, put all that stuff into the new MechWarrior game, and then just make it a PvE game. The MechWarrior game for the single player stuff is PvE. PvE only. It doesn't have any PvP. If you want to do PvP, you got to play the MMO. There you go. The PvP experience is in the MMO. The PvE experience is in the single player game. Fixed. Everyone's goddamn happy. Everyone gets their cake and eats it. People who want to play PvE get all the stuff. People who want to do PvP have all the stuff over there too. You got your cake, now you can eat it. And guess what? A lot of people who play the PvE stuff are like, wow, this is really fun. God, I'd love to fucking own some fuckers in this game playing in the PvP. Well, don't worry. Check out the MMO. You could do all the PvP you could ever want over here. There, easy sell. You'll bring in new audience members because the PvE is really good to go play your MMO for the PvP.
Actually, it doesn't mean a MMO. He's talking about MechWarrior Online.
No, I'm not talking about any new MMO here. I'm simply talking about just making better PvE games so that we who like PvE games don't get shafted because there's an MMO. The MMO shafts the design of MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries. The reason why MechWarrior 5 Clans isn't as good as it should be is the same reason as Mercenaries. It got shafted because of the MMO. Quit shafting the MMO or fucking the PvE games because the MMO exists. You can have your cake and eat it. We can all benefit from this. You'll get new players to go play your fucking grindy ass MMO, and there'll be plenty of people who will buy the single player game that'll rejuvenate itself. Oh. I'm done. I'm done with living. I just hate it. I'm sick of it.
The problem is they just want MWO. Because a lot of people, I keep seeing people talking about MechWarrior Online too. It's not going to happen. They just want to keep milking MWO. They're just going to keep releasing mech packs, charging people like $60 to get early access to them, and then just keep doing that until
I do love that.
They have to shut it down for some reason.
I do love that, by the way. The constant, like, we need to charge you extra for barely anything else. Barely anything. In fact, you're gonna pay
right
more.
Here
just so you can fucking
is why $677 and fucking bullshit, and that's probably not everything either. By the way, that's just the bundles.
Oh yeah, it's just MechWarrior Online Legends now.
Yep, because they rebranded to steal Living Legends' name, so they could sue them.
Living Legends might actually still be around.
No, it all makes sense to me. They've always hated Living Legends because Living Legends competes with this. That's how they view it. And they're partially right. Their game sucks. And Living Legends was better.
Because the website for Living Legends is still up, and they last posted news on it on the 5th of this month, so it's still around, but they might have to restart development of it or something.
I hate it. He wants to play Battletech because movement does equal evasion and accuracy. I know, movement plays a role into that. They should factor it into the video game. Well, yeah, MechWarrior Online is super old. It's made in the CryEngine. No, it's not super old. Okay, it's almost 10 years old.
It's pretty old.
It's almost 10. It's gonna be 10 years old soon, Chatfish. But that's what I mean. Like, this is the MMO, right? And it's got its niche. I cannot stand how grindy it is, and also how long the queue times are, because the game doesn't have a very active player base.
It's like a couple hundred, you know. And queue times are heavily dependent on what weight class you're playing, because everyone wants to usually just play heavies and assaults. So if you want to play heavier assault, you're going to sit there for like 20 minutes.
That's
Have
awful.
fun.
Yes, please, 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 you're making me feel ancient. As Vulcan's like a withered chatfish.
It just turns to dust.
Blows away. Ah. But yeah, this is MechWarrior Online. Like, you can try it if you want, Chatfish. It's right here. But honestly, I wasn't very enthralled with it. Dig Cliff donates $5 and says, if you are interested in combined arms, Living Legends 2 is in beta kips. Shoot me a link in my DMs. I'll take a look. I would actually love if this time around I could actually play it. Because Living Legends 1, I couldn't really play. If it was on the CryEngine, it was super unstable and it crashed all the time. And it... I wanted to try it, but I couldn't. You could down mechs and close beta and MechWarrior Line. Yeah, I remember that. I don't remember if I played that or if I remember watching that, but I remember that was a thing. Then they removed it because apparently getting knocked over was annoying. Well, the thing is, maybe don't get knocked over. Like, it's a skill issue. This is one of those things where it is a skill issue. The whole purpose of kinetic weapons and stuff like that is to knock enemies around. Part of what makes a kinetic weapon have value adverse to a laser is that it actually impacts a target. Kinetic. You know? And if you hit an enemy with enough kinetic weapons, they fall over. That is a critical moment in which your teammates need to decide to cover your ass or leave you to get fucking mauled.
James Craig says, a good example of the heads needing to stay out. It got removed when Beef and some goons kept knocking over one of them nonstop. So the community trolled a developer and then they removed it.
That doesn't seem like a very good idea. That seems like a lack of self-control, basically.
That would make sense for some of their balance things like the ghost heat and other things that they tried to put in to basically force people to not use certain builds.
That strikes an anti-player bias. If people are being kind of scummy and scuzzy, you know, there should be like, okay, do we want to take out this mechanic? No. Maybe we want to increase it a little bit so that it's not so easy to get knocked over, or there's maybe like you can be knocked over, but you have like a cooldown before being knocked over again. Easy fix. Yeah, it's a bit arcadey to introduce like a 60-second, like, what do you call it? Immunity to cooldown, or cooldown to being knocked over again. But it introduces a basic balance mechanic so that, yeah, you can be knocked over, but, you know, you'll get like a minute to return fire or reposition. Plenty of time in a first-person game to get out of the fucking way. And kinetic weapons are also just going to hit you to the point where you're going to die anyways. So even if they are griefing and knocking you over all the time, well, you know, it is what it is. But the reality is that being knocked over is part of the warfare. It's part of how Battletech works. Taking that away makes the mechs feel less mechy. You know, if you start removing things that make mechs feel like mechs, then all of a sudden your mech doesn't feel very mechy anymore, does it? At the same time, they would leave a massive long-range mega sniper builds alone. You know why? Because they probably like those builds. This is, again, what we call an anti-player bias, or a developer bias, if you want to call it that. Where they basically develop this own thing, like, oh, this is how our game should be played, rather than how it, you know, actually should be played. This is a problem that actually happened with Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2. The developers had a certain idea of how the game should play, but the reality was that they were kind of out of touch with what the game was actually like. They didn't have enough time to play the game, and they didn't not only have enough time to play their own game, but they also couldn't quite tell if this was what they should be doing, right? And so they had to take a break, play the game some more, and listen to the community about what the community was liking about the game. Community liked the fact that weapons hit hard. They liked feeling like super soldiers. Because, you know what? Being massacred is not really fun in Helldivers 2, is it? You're supposed to be Super Earth elite troops, shock troops, right? Sent in to break the enemy's back, you know? Not get dropped in to be mauled to death. It's like all the time. Like it still happens, but that's the big thing. They buffed everything in Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 fixed everything. If you haven't played it, you should play it now. Because they took a step back, they looked at where the game was going, and were like, okay, we're kind of out of touch. Our players want our game to actually be this, and we're out of touch with what our game should be. We should go back to the drawing board and figure out what the players like and where we've gotten this disconnect. And Pilestadt, when he stepped down, he did that. He went back, they touched base, they looked at what the community actually liked, and we're like, guys, I think we're making our game, too difficult and the weapons too, not fun, so that nobody wants to play in harder difficulties anymore. It's like, okay, so how do we fix this? Well, we make the weapons fun again and powerful. Buff the railgun. Make the railgun stronger than it was before. Make the other weapons stronger than where they were before, and make it more about fighting more enemies rather than less enemies. And it turned the game around. I'm now doing Super Helldive, and Super Helldive is hard as nails, but Super Helldive is fun. Playing on max difficulty 10 is the most fun I've had in Helldivers 2 ever. It's super challenging. There's a shit ton of enemies, and it's really fun. And that's honestly good. And that's what they should be doing at Piranha Games Interactive. Looking at what people want and actually providing those things. Not with MechWarrior Online necessarily, because that isn't a game that appeals to me anymore. So for them, obviously. But for the single player games, the games that still they make that appeal to me, they should make them actually have things I want to see. And yeah, they should have quad mechs back. Quad mechs are heresy? No, they're not. They're just cute.
Sleep well, Harlot.
He's like, what the fuck?
Harlot.
Houdini.
Houdini. Houdini.
All right.
But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me to hear the reason they've done balance and stuff is because for MechWarrior Online is because the devs themselves only want certain things to be viable. Given the way they've handled development of that sounds exactly like something they would do.
I mean, if they wanted the players to be cannon fodder, then the player lobby should be bigger. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the thing is, Helldivers 2 is, I'm pretty sure, recovering. If I remember
I would say
right.
so.
This is an example of what Piranha Games Interactive should be. Yes, it's actually pretty heavy on the upswing, actually. 89%. 90% is what we call overwhelmingly positive. It's on the precipice of hitting that upswing. So if they keep going at that trajectory, then eventually they'll actually hit that back. But yeah, this game is definitely back in a good state again. If you haven't played it in a while, come back to it. Give it a shot. Especially now. Yes, I do doubt you, Frederick. You know why? Because I was right. Helldivers 2 is still fucking fun on max difficulty. Well, it is what it is, little Fred. But yeah, no, Helldivers 2 is in an excellent state. It's incredibly good. And I'm glad you've all learned to accept my way of thinking. Like, what?
It does seem like for clans, though, it is mostly people just... It's a slight improvement, so it's a good game.
Well, that's the reality.
In general.
That's what I mean. But the big problem is look at the amount of reviews. That's 1,170, right? Where's Mercenaries at? Now, Mercenaries, I imagine, is a bit higher. I mean, yeah, it's going to get some new sales because Clans just came out, too. But it's like, it's... The only reason why you get Mercenaries, I don't even get the last expansion, is, again, because I guess in co-op it's kind of okay. Because you play with friends, it's always better, but it's still not that good. I don't know. The only reason would be for literally the mods. And most of the mods are broken from what I remember. This is the last time somebody told me. I don't know if they fixed them. But that's the only reason. Clans does not have any workshop. I mean, I've already uninstalled it because, I'll be real with you guys, I don't think I'm going to play this game again. Unless they make like an expansion, I might try it, but like, man, I just don't know if I want to go back to it. Like, it just wasn't very good. And unless something is done about it, There's no replay value. Yeah, I guess you can get 18 hours out of it, but like, fuck, there's really just... When I want
The
to play
only
MechWarrior game, I want to play
replay
more.
would be getting the other ending.
And that
But
only changes 3 missions, by the way.
that would not be worth playing through the entire beginning and middle of the game just to get, the last fourth. Not
I mean,
even
the
probably
story
even
wasn't
less
even
than that.
good.
It was just bad.
It actually bothers me that it tells me that I have no
No,
progress
yeah.
at all in the game.
Yeah, look at all the achievements I got. Yeah, what's funny is it doesn't count achievements for friends. So while I have completed all the achievements, all my friends are deadbeats and haven't done a damn thing.
Yep, I have no XP on any pilots. I have nothing.
Look at all these achievements. I don't give a shit about a single one of them. But yeah. When it comes down to it, Chatfish, I don't really think MechWarrior 5 Clans is good. And I don't think Piranha Games Interactive knows what to do with it. Like, the cutscenes are uncanny. Like, this thumbnail here speaks volumes to me. It's like Liam and Mex, I guess. Mex.
You can't even recognize the character because that's not Liam.
Oh, it's not Liam? Fuck.
Isn't that supposed to be Jaden?
That's Jaden.
Oh yeah, I forget. They're all so forgettable, dude. I can't tell the difference.
I think that's supposed to be Jaden. Their faces are very bland.
The thing is, with a PvE game, they really need to work on their AI. I can't get over how bad the AI is in this game. Like, it is beyond unacceptable, guys. It is so beyond unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
AI NPCs just run in front of you, get fucking lasered. Enemies just walk towards you and just
Enemy
die.
AI also just breaks and it'll stop shooting you and just turn around or stand there.
These levels are corridors, so you like go here, and then you go there, and then you just keep going. Like, it's
Yep. And there's invisible walls. Oh, I have jump jets. I can climb this. Nope.
So you can't climb
Just
up
wall.
here because if you go up here, the game will end. And also, if you manage to go up to these high ground things, not only will the game end, but like, there's nothing up there. Like,
So, on the last mission, when we were supposed to like take that winding path around that mountain, I had jump jets. I tried to climb up it and hit an invisible wall.
Yeah, they have invisible walls everywhere. I mean, the reality is it's just corridor to the video game. Have you heard of Land and Sea, a series Pardo has been working on? Seems like a good alternative to BT and MW. Oh, I'm sure it's probably very well written. I have heard of it, actually. I just have no... I don't know how to put it. I have no attachment to a new series yet. That's not to say anything bad about it, just haven't tried it.
Land and Sea series.
Either way, what just gets me, thank you for the donation, very generous. But I don't think it's an alternative answer to Battletech, because Battletech is very specific. The reality is Battletech is sort of a lost cause at this point. So, I mean, I guess, try whatever, right? What just gets me with the enemy, says Dastardly, shooting you is... Shut up, video game. Is that were too goddamn lazy to add a slight sway to a laser being shot at you. It just perfectly tracks your components. Yes, it does. What rich...
Yeah, I didn't even bother trying to torso twist and stuff when we played clans because I learned in Mercenaries. It doesn't matter. I can even do a 180 and they'll still hit the front with that laser. Try MechWarrior 5 VR mod. VR would work really good for a MechWarrior game.
Yeah, it could be cool because of the cockpit and all that.
Which it's surprising to me that we don't really have any VR mech games. There's like 2.
They're really bad.
One's the one I tried both. One's a single player meant to be a story thing. It's complete ass. The other one's a PvP only one, which actually does seem neat, but it's also an early access VR PvP game. So there's no one ever playing it, and there never will be.
It's a dead game.
Yeah, it's dead just by design because it's VR. It's already a small player base. It's mechs, so another smaller player base, and PvP only, and early access. So it's like there's no one gonna play this.
Yep. I mean, the big thing is that with MechWarrior VR experience would be really cool, but it should only be optional because VRs
Yeah,
aren't
it shouldn't be
fully
needed.
accessible yet. If that makes sense. Like I've got my VR in a box somewhere, mostly because the only last time I played anything interesting on it was Half-Life Alyx, I think.
That's apparently like the best VR game.
For me,
I've
it's one of my
consistently heard.
favorite. Yeah, there's a couple other ones up there.
I tried to get into Alex, and I don't have enough space to move around, and I hate the teleport mechanic, and it just felt awkward to me, but I could probably get it to work well enough.
What was cool about Alex, what made it fun, was the fact that you could use physical objects to smack things. Like I had a hammer and I smacked a fucking head crab out of the air. That was pretty cool. It felt kinetic too. And then I smacked my hand on the ceiling. Oh god, I remember that. That's back when I lived at my dad's place. Hit my fucking hand on the little ceiling fan. It was on. Oh,
Yes, I know, Blake.
It hurts so bad. It hurts so. Make
But
sure you have clear
teleport movement's
space
the
when you
default.
do that.
Mm-hmm. Teleport's the default movement for a lot of VR games, and I despise that style of movement.
Steel Battalion is a game I always wanted to try, but I don't have it. It has a massive controller. Like one of the biggest
Yeah,
controls
it's
I've
that
ever
like
seen.
entire like desk setup almost for
Yep.
it.
It's like I wish there was like a MechWarrior game like that. That'd be so cool.
Choke.
I've been in one of those battle pods for MechWarrior. Those are cool too. They were neat. Fortress Seal, did you have a new chatfish or something? You should post it on the Discord. Also, we
Yes,
do
I
have
have a new
some
one.
fan art to go through, I think. I'm going to cover my screen because I don't
Yeah,
know if
there's
it's...
some new fan art.
There we go. I can't make that bigger because of that. But I can.
I can carry you.
I can carry you. Alright, pulling up fan art. We got some fan art to go through.
Anlu animated his thing a bit.
Alright, Chatfish, fan art time, just a review. So, Tuna is a new fan artist I've seen posting stuff, which is very nice. I like his Chatfish. This art piece is cursed, I want to point out.
I'm not sure what that's supposed to be, by the way.
I know exactly what it is.
What is it, kid?
It's a tail.
Oh, is that?
Yeah. It's a shadow on the
Or
Chatfish.
innocent regular.
Yep.
I thought it was cheeks above them, and then it was a
Yes.
pink and blue
You're,
thing.
you're innocent. I know what it is.
Innocent.
Oh, if they
Rifford
let
gives some
the-
membership.
Thank you for the gift of membership. Stormrat got a new Chatfish. He's renamed himself Sturm Ratger, and he's now a rat burger. He purchased his Chatfish by Alupalo. Very well done. This one's very colorful. Very nice. Another new Chatfish by that got obtained by Velazari. Not bad, not bad. Very nice looking. These are really
To
good
let you
fan
know,
arts.
Rifford Enderall is now less than 100 away from being completed.
Another fan art by Tuna. The bucket. Get lost, weirdo. No catfish. Chatfish only. I feel bad for the little chatfish. Oh,
He's
little
so
catfish.
sad.
Oh my god. Gonna slowly pan up because I never know what's in the fan art section. Another Chatfish, an ODST one for Oakley. Not bad. Looking pretty cool. These are very
Oakley.
nice fan arts.
Yes, his fins are long enough to actually reach the trigger.
Big fin. And I think this is the last one actually. And Midnight Ninja's little wizard fish. Not entirely sure. I think it's a wizard.
The wizard.
Wizard!
And the stick is a little wibbly.
Listen, it's hard to find straight wood in the bucket.
It's all warped and stuff. Fair enough.
Oh, and Jano just posted some.
Whoa. Is it safe?
You can't see anything.
Is it?
There's a bit of butt cheek.
Now you made me paranoid. Oh, it's safe. All right, we've got a fan art from Jano66 that just came in, and more fan art just coming in. That one's from Jano, not bad. Bucky being put in his place, always good. Love to see it. Quick Hurst. Not bad, not bad. And Portrait Seal got his very own custom chatfish. Private Seal, the Praetorian Guard. For every seal that falls, 10 more shall take his place. Looks very good.
Take his place.
Always nice to see new custom chatfish entering the bucket. Not bad, chatfish. Not bad at all. But yeah. You guys have any final notes on MechWarrior 5? Clans?
At most, should have been a free update and then maybe a story DLC for $10
Yeah, I feel
for
like
mercenaries.
I honestly felt like it should have been an update. That's the other thing.
Yep.
It should have been an update. You know what? That's a good point. It should have been an update for MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries to update it to the new Unreal Engine. I really, honestly, don't really care about the visuals that much. Gameplay is a little bit more important for me. But, like,
yeah,
it should have been that, and it should have just added stuff to Mercenaries. It should have been a separate game. Because then it should add a new start point for the Mercenaries campaign, or so the Mercenary campaign can have clans appear, and you can do missions for clans, or fight clans, or probably not missions for them, but, you know, whatever.
should have just been update to mercenaries and then the story was a DLC.
It's a serious missed opportunity. It should have just been baked into the Mercenaries game.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything for you, Squealy Beely?
They're just gonna keep doing this. The fact that people are just starved for MechWarrior content, that they're just gonna support Piranha until they realize that they're not gonna change and they're just bad for the overall IP.
I don't think they're going to change at all. If people are already supporting Piranha Games Interactive, like, they're probably just happy with the status quo. Which I think is the problem. Alright, alright. I think that's everything, little chatfish friends. So in that case, we're going to raid into the pen and paper we're going to be running tonight. So, yep, we're going to get ready for that. Thank you for your
generous
a bit for that. Donations today, chatfish. And we will see you in the next stream. The pen and paper campaign might start a bit late because we have to set up things. First time setup takes a little bit of a bit. But we'll keep you informed because I'll be in the chat there. So, yeah. Thanks for the donations. Thanks for popping by. Hopefully, there'll be good news to talk about when it comes to MechWarrior next time. But either way, chatfish, I hope you have a fantastic day. And we will see you in the next Bunchcast. Goodbye, little chatfish.
Yep.